I love fish tacos, and Joshua loves them even more. I make mine with fresh homemade corn tortillas, a fresh homemade Jicama-Cabbage Slaw, and fresh homemade battered fried codfish. It's a lot of effort, but well worth it, and I hope you make them. So I start with the corn tortilla dough. I'm using masa mix. It's basically just ground dried maize, 2 cups of it in a bowl, and I am adding some salt to it. And I'm going to hydrate this with 2 cups of warm water. This is actually too much water for the dough, but I like to start out with extra water and then add gradually a little bit of masa towards the end to bring it up to the desired consistency. So I'm just pouring in the hot water there and mixing it with a spoon. It will look very soupy at the start. Don't worry, when this masa hydrates, it'll kind of sneak up on you. See, look how it's already hydrating like really quickly. It's transitioning from soup to more like a batter, and then very quickly from there it transitions into a very wet dough. So I've added just there about a half cup of masa additionally. You want to add between an additional half cup to whole cup of masa, and I'm mixing it with my hands at this point because it's easier. So you want it to clump like this, while at the same time not really sticking on your hands and leaving a residue. That's how you'll know that it's about the right consistency, keeping in mind that the dough will continue to hydrate a little bit more as it sits before you actually form it into tortillas. So I like them just a little teeny tiny bit on the wet side, because dry dough is really difficult to work with, but if you have a wet dough, you can always just add a little tiny bit more masa in at the end. So I'm just incorporating this. You can mix it a bit with your hands like this. I think it helps everything coheed a little bit. Coheed, that's a word. I think it helps everything stick together better. And I'm just pounding it into a nice mound, and I'm going to cover it and set it aside for a half hour. And this is the dressing for my slaw. That's about a half cup of mayo. I'm adding about a teaspoon of celery salt to that, and the juice of 2 limes. You can vary this depending on how juicy your limes are. You just mix that together to incorporate everything, and it doesn't work very well if you whisk it with a spoon. It works much better if you whisk it with an actual whisk. But first, let's add some pepper. And as you can see, it's still lumpy, so actual whisk. There you go. That works so much better. And once it's like this, like a dressing, taste it, you know, make sure that it's the desired consistency. Here's some fresh cilantro I harvested from my garden. And you're gonna mince about a 1/4 cup of that along with 1 de-seeded jalapeno. You want the flavor of the jalapeno more than the actual like spice of it. And there's my nice homegrown cilantro. And whisk those into your dressing. And you can add sugar if you want, I just don't like to. And then I had way too much produce in this, so half the amount that I'm showing here. So that's about 3 matchstick minced scallions. You'll see how I minced those. Not minced, matchstick sliced them, julienned them. Anyway, this is a 1/4 a head of green cabbage and a 1/4 of a head of red cabbage. In the video, it's a half a head of each, but 1/4's better. This is a giant jicama. If you have not discovered jicama already, do yourself a favor and discover it. It's starchy like a potato, but very sweet, very crisp. It's a delicious vegetable to eat raw. And here it is, cut into matchsticks. That was half of a jicama that I sliced, but again, that's too much. Do a 1/4 of a giant jicama sliced into matchsticks. What I wound up doing in the video is I wound up just like realizing, oh shit, there's too much like vegetables per dressing ratio. So I just added a bunch of dressing later after the fact off camera. But yeah, way too much coleslaw. So use half the vegetables that I'm using in the video and mix it with your mighty hand. Your hand is the best tool for mixing the slaw. It just won't work very well if you try to use a spoon. And everything's incorporated and lovely. And you can put this in the fridge and the flavors will develop a little more if you set it for a couple hours. Now I'm making a sriracha mayo. This is extremely basic. You just get some mayo, dump it into a squirt bottle. This one has a cap, so it's really nice for like mixing dressings and the like. So I'm just putting, I don't know, like a third of a cup of mayo in there. I really just eyeball everything. And then I've got a giant clove of minced garlic. It's pulverized, actually. You want it to be like very finely pulverized so that it won't clog up your nozzle when you're squirting out your mayo later. And there's the sriracha. Wouldn't be a millennial without some sriracha in my house. That was about a tablespoon of sriracha. And then lit it and shake it violently until it becomes a nice homogeneous sriracha mayo. And set that aside. Now for the batter for the fish. This is 3/4 of a cup of flour, some black pepper, some baking powder, some coriander, some garlic salt, some onion powder, some chili powder, and cumin. The exact amounts are in the recipe that's in the video description below. By the way, there's a recipe in the video description below. Whisk those together with your clean whisk, and just to incorporate. And that's going to be, it seems like a lot of spices, but you want a lot of spices, otherwise the fish is going to be pretty bland. I add 2 eggs to that, and then enough water to turn it into a batter. I made my batter quite thick. You might want yours thinner than I have mine. So anywhere between like a half a cup of water, maybe 3/4 of a cup of water. You can use fizzy water if you want it to be like bubbly. You can use beer. I don't really like beer. I'm just using plain water. And until you have a nice batter for your fish. Now for the homemade corn tortillas, you're gonna wanna invest in one of these if you love tacos and you want to be making homemade corn tortillas a lot. This is a tortilla press. These are pieces of thick plastic. They used to be a freezer bag and I just cut up the freezer bag. So, you don't have to buy anything expensive, just find an old freezer bag and cut it up. And this is the dough that I have rested. If you wanna be fancy, you can use an ice cream scoop and portion out evenly so you have identical tortillas, but I don't really care. So you just get a mound of it, put it on one of the sheets of plastic, and then you cover it with another sheet of plastic. You don't want the tortilla press to directly go onto it. So the plastic will protect it and prevent it from sticking to the tortilla press. Use the power of levers to press down that dough, and wow, you have a tortilla. So this is kind of delicate. You peel off the top piece of plastic, and then what I do with this little piece of tortilla here, you flip it over onto your free hand like that, and then very gently peel back that second piece of plastic. Now you have this exposed raw tortilla, and you plop it incorrectly into a cast iron skillet. It's okay, we'll fix that little dimple there. Okay, all fixed. So this is a cast iron skillet on medium-high heat. And you want to cook it on each side about 2 minutes or so, flipping a few times. I'm going to show you another one pressed. And it does work a little better if you press it with your hand with the plastic before you use the actual tortilla press. I forgot to do that the first time, so I'm showing it again correctly. Voila, another tortilla. So you peel off that top piece of plastic. Incidentally, if your dough is too wet, that's not going to work very well. So yeah, it's just something you kind of learn over time. And again, flip it into your free hand and very slowly, carefully, gently peel off that piece of plastic. Sometimes the plastic buckles a little like it did just there, and it can rip your tortilla. If that happens, just mound up your tortilla dough again and press it again. It's not the end of the world. Flip that tortilla, and sometimes if you press it, it will pop. It'll like expand like a pillow, but mine didn't, because I'm a failure. This is the most important part of tortilla cooking. So you put it on a plate lined with a towel or an old cut-up shirt, as I am right now, and with each subsequent tortilla, you stack it and you keep covering it. So what that towel does is it not only insulates your tortillas and keeps them warm until you're ready to eat them, because that's one of the benefits of homemade corn tortillas, is they're nice and warm and fresh, but what that does is it really helps hydrate your tortillas. If you don't leave the towel on them like this, they're gonna dry out and get really cracky, and when you try to fold them and put stuff in them, they're just gonna fall apart. So this is the most important part of the process. Now the fish. I just cubed some cod. I'm using 1.5 pounds of cod in this whole recipe, which feeds like 10 people, incidentally. Feeds a crowd. And I'm just covering them in that batter. And then when I'm ready to fry them, and this is in a actually shallow pan. I've only got about 1 inch of oil in there. And sizzle, 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 sizzle. You put them in one at a time. Shake off some of that excess batter as you're putting them in. You don't want them to be too clumpy. And you just want to fry them, not crowding the pan, a couple minutes on each side. This oil should be pretty hot, actually, because these pieces of fish are pretty tiny. You'll want them to cook quickly so the fish on the inside doesn't get overcooked. and so that exterior can get nice and crispy. So you want to cook your fish in batches. You don't want to put like all the 1.5 pounds of fish into the oil all at once. And you'll see I kind of crowded my pan because I'm a little impatient that way. It still worked out okay, but yeah, try not to overcrowd your pan. You're going to want to do this in about 2 to 4 batches, depending on the size of your pan. And I'm just using plain vegetable oil, but lard is probably more traditional.
Mighty fork.
Use your mighty fork, as I said there. Catchphrase from when I used to do this show like 4 years ago. Anyway, and I just like to use a fork to flip them. You get more precision that way. Not all of them are going to need equal attention. There's hot spots in your pan. They're going to cook at different rates. When they are brown and crispy, you transfer them using a spider or a slotted metal spoon to a wire rack over some paper towels. You don't want to just do it over paper towels directly with no wire rack, because then your pieces of fish will get soggy. They will not be crispy. So you've got to leave them on this wire rack to cool over the paper towels. And if you want to keep them warm until you're ready to eat them, just pop them into a 350-degree oven for a few minutes, like before you're ready to serve your tacos, and you're good to go. And I'm frying up that second batch. And just keep going. You don't have to change your oil or anything. That's wasteful. And as you can see, I used like all of the batter. So nothing's wasted. Yay! And I'm just finishing off this second batch. Yeah, I fried mine in 2 batches. Probably should have fried it in like 3 batches. Listen to that. That's what you want. To assemble, you take a corn tortilla that is nice and malleable. See, it's not cracking, it's not falling apart because of the towel I had over it. And then you put a little slaw on it. I like mine pretty slaw forward because the fish is quite rich and heavy. And about 3 to 4 pieces of fish. Squirt some sriracha mayo on top of that. And there you have your beautiful fish taco. They are really tasty, really nice treat. A lot of effort, but I think they're well worth the effort. And there are ways to repurpose the leftovers. Check the video description for details. And I hope you make these. Thanks for watching. Since this channel is small and not monetized, you can best support it by subscribing and by liking, commenting, and sharing the videos. You can also buy food and cooking items from my Amazon store to give me a cut of the profits at no extra cost to you. Also, add me on Facebook for recipes and more. Bye, food lovers!